Welcome to Explore, Explain, Highlights. In this highlights package, we'll be looking at Season 5, Episode 4, with our guests Dominikus Baur and Alice Thudt, discussing their project, Full of Themselves.
So I always do them mostly for curiosity reasons. So rather than trying to practice, although that comes with it naturally, it's usually a question that I'm really interested in. And I think in this case, it was like Dominikus who was really interested in this question. But when I do projects, usually it's something that I really want to explore. And then basically all of the other nice side effects are, of course, valuable as well.
Yeah.
So learning how, trying new things, like really sometimes weird things, and not all of my passion projects make it to the general public audiences. I usually like to experiment a lot on my own, and usually don't have the final push to really make it polished enough to put it out there.
I mean, passion projects are also nice to, as you said, not only take a break from the pressure cooker environment of client work, but also to play the client yourself for once, and actually use your skills that you've honed of data analysis and data visualization to do something that you really want to see in the world, which is also cool.
It kind of felt a little bit like you were my client for this. Because it was much more Dominikus's project, and I was like trying to do something that he would be happy with in order to put this out. So it wasn't like, for me, it was almost like a client project, but of course we were much like,
Of course I didn't pay her. So.
Those
are all for exposure.
The funnest
Unpaid
ones.
invoices,
No, but it was...
Plus, one other thing when it comes to passion projects, it's always dangerous, I find, if you do them completely by yourself, because then you don't have this feedback loop where you actually show it to someone who might not be or come from the same background as you are, might not be as crazy about the data as you are. So it's always good to have this back and forth between one slightly less
movie geek
person.
Yeah, for me, I was always like, actually in this project, I was always playing the role of the less geeky movie, interested in movies, but not like super geeky. And so it helped to sometimes say, okay, I really don't get this reference. Like, this is probably only clear to people who are really into the whole meme world around this topic. And so I was sometimes...
The first version of the page was way more obtuse,
like,
I think.
Wait,
so.
what is all this? But I think it's still in there because it's also... definitely speaks to people who are already interested in the topic. So there was the data cleaning did creep. Always continue to happen because we did have some findings again in the analysis, and then we were like, why is this? And sometimes it was because of yet another little mistake in the data cleaning. And at a certain point I was like, okay, there will always be errors in this whole, like in the end. Let's go with this now and not keep adding or changing the data set again, because it is not possible to identify every single thing. Sometimes it was stuff like a dash that is a dot in the IMDb, and so and sometimes it was just so many little things that Dominikus kept cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and I think it was great. So now it's pretty much there, but still some responses on social media were still about little things that people discovered. So I think it's
Those
just
people.
never going. It's never going to happen that this is like exactly perfect.
It's cool that people notice that, but then something like, oh, this one movie has the wrong number of title drops, it's 2 instead of 3, your whole project is worthless.
That didn't really happen. It was just like, I was kind of saying, okay, we will just maybe stop now because it's good enough. So yeah, we don't end up finding more.
That's so important. Good enough has to be a place where you find like inner peace, I think.
It's funny because to me, like when Dominikus talked about title drops and he was telling me, it's this point in the movie when a character really like looks in the camera and really ironically says the title. I was realizing over the course of this project that that's actually not most of the instances of title drops. And I think that's why the assumptions were wrong, because he was more thinking of that type of title drop, when I think oftentimes, or it's just an hypothesis that I kind of came up with during this, because I thought maybe sometimes it's not that the title is intentionally dropped in the movie, but instead it's an important line of the movie script that becomes the title. So it's more, some really important phrase, something that is really meaningful as part of the piece, is used as a title. So in that instance, it wouldn't be this ironic, kind of type of title drop. It would in fact be really like, sensible to have the title appear.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually why I decided to join the project. It was like we were talking about it and at breakfast, kind of over a cup of coffee, and I was like looking at, Dominikus had already done all of these like little timeline visualizations of each movie where you can see a line for each title drop, and I was looking at it and got kind of frustrated with the fact that when you look at a very dense movie where there's a lot of title drops like Barbie, they really bunch together. And usually when you do an interaction for something like that, you would just always highlight the closest title drop with your mouse. And sometimes it just felt like really finicky to do that. It really only highlighted one and you could never get the right one. And so that I thought this is actually an interesting kind of problem, and came up with this idea of why don't we zoom in on this part. And it was also really working with the metaphor of this movie strip. So at first it was just, as I said, like a timeline, but then I thought, they always have these little holes at the side, like the movie strips, where you have the film roll catch on to the strip, and we can use that as tick marks. So it's actually like not only ornamental, it's also the tick mark, but it also is the metaphor. And I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Wow,
and so we
yeah.
really want to do that now. Let me quickly do like a quick how it would look, and then I got really super excited. So yes, the fish eye, and then Dominikus just did it like super quickly. It was cool. So I was like, this would be super cool. And of course there's examples for it. So it's not like we're not the people coming up with fish eye lenses. It just really worked with this idea of, I almost have it like the film folding upwards.
Exactly.
So you can see it more closely. And the having those little dots for the holes of the film roll makes it clear how big the time frame you're zooming in on now is. So you keep the context, and it allowed us to highlight multiple movies or title drops at a time.
Thank you for joining us for this Explore, Explain highlights episode. As always, the full episode is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We hope to see you again soon on another episode of Explore, Explain.